Wait, wait. Wait, am I live? Oh my god, I am so confused. I am so confused. Oh wait, I'm live. I don't get it. Am I live? Guys, can anyone verify if I'm live? Because I am so confused right now. I am so confused. Wait. Okay, I think it's working now. I think it's working. Someone says hi. Okay. I think it's working. I really hope so. Wait, just a second. Just a second. Ah, okay, I'm live. Alright. Okay, thank you for verifying, Alicia. Okay. Alright. Everyone's verifying if I'm live. Alright. This is the third time I'm having technical difficulties. And I don't know if it's my fault or not. Anyway. Yeah, guys, welcome back. Sorry for the delay once again. Sorry. I'm very sorry, but we're live. Okay, great. Okay, so how's everyone doing? So for this week, the theme will be checkmating patterns, as you can see from the title. This is the first class of checkmating patterns, so there will be 2 more, I think. So I hope everyone is excited for that. A little disclaimer. This is really aimed for beginners. So if you're a bit advanced and you're like 1400 plus, then I do not suggest this stream. You can click away. But this is really for beginners. As you already can see from the example, it's checkmating with king and rook. So yeah, so this is really aimed for beginners and people who just started to learn chess. So if you just started to learn chess, hello, welcome. You're going to be seeing some checkmating patterns, and I will explain to you what it exactly is. So yeah, that was just a little disclaimer I wanted to make. So it would be nice if people didn't say in chat that it's really beginner level and it's really easy. I'm aware of that. This is really focused on beginners. All right. Cool. Okay. Yeah, you're fine with it. All right. Amazing. Okay. So we will be looking at checkmating patterns, but what exactly is a checkmating pattern, you may ask? So for people who do know what it is, I will try to explain it to you. So basically, when you're looking for a checkmating pattern, you want to master it and recognize like typical setups. And yes, I'm reading both Twitch and YouTube chats. Yeah. So you want to master and recognize, that's very important, certain setups. So we will be seeing many exercises throughout the entire lesson. This is too easy. All right. So yeah, we'll be seeing many exercises with different setups, like with different piece coordinations, let's say bishop and rook or queen and rook. So we'll be seeing a bunch of those. And then at the end, we will have some opening patterns, how you can checkmate your opponent with an opening. So that's also very interesting for people who just started to learn chess. So maybe you can checkmate your opening. Maybe you can check your opponent in the opening. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, anyway. So now you kind of know what a checkmating pattern is, I guess. So it's basically reaching a typical setup that keeps on, that you will recognize once you make a lot of exercises, let's say. Or maybe you're playing a game and you all of a sudden you think of my class and you're like, hey, I've seen this pattern. Let me play this and checkmate my opponent. Maybe that works. That would be awesome if you could apply this class to one of your games. That would be really great. Anyway, so yeah, once you master those setups, those patterns, you will begin to sense it in one of your games when to use it, when you have a mating idea. So especially when you're low on time, it's really useful to have these patterns in mind and to look for mating patterns, because that's really useful. Or when you're, for example, playing Bullet or Blitz online, that's really useful to have these mating ideas in mind. So I'm really funny. I'm trying to. Okay. So this is the first exercise. So this topic, the name of this mate is corner mate rook. So I think the word says it itself. You want to mate your opponent's king with your rook in the corner. So what you're gonna do, the first move, what you're gonna play here is, I'll just explain it to you myself rather than you telling me, because it might be a bit easy for some of you. So I'll just try to explain myself. So you go rook e7 here with the idea to cut off this entire file from the black king, so the black king cannot escape. So that's the idea of rook e7. So the only possible ways to move your king to is either on this file, the G file, or on the H file. So these are the possible options to run off with your king. And black now goes, let's say, king g5. He has to go somewhere. He can't cross this file, of course. Oh, let me highlight it. He can't cross this file, so he has to go somewhere here. Yeah, with the beautiful arrows. All right. So, so now we go again, rook f7, trying to cut off another file from the king. So you're basically taking away as many squares from the king as possible. So that's what you're trying to do, and you're trying to create a corner. Not yet, but we will bring the king closer to create a corner, you will see. So rook f7, and now we go, let's say king g6. Black has to make a move, right? And we bring our rook to f1, so it would take longer for the black king to attack this guy, right? So you don't want black to attack your rook all the time. It's really annoying to keep moving your rook back and forth. So you move your rook to f1, so the king is really really far away from the rook, so it's really hard to attack this rook. All right, so now we go king g5, trying to attack the rook, but you know it takes time. So now we bring our king closer. You can't mate with just your rook. You need to bring your king closer in order to mate your opponent. So that's what we're doing. You bring your king to e4. Black only has king moves, so he goes king g4. And now, as you can see, white can go rook g1. And the king cannot escape to f5, cannot escape to f4, cannot escape to f3, as the white king is protecting all of those squares. And also, he can go to the g file. So the only option for black here is to go to the h file. So, so many so's. Oh my god, that's so true. I keep on saying so. Oh, I'll try to use another word. Okay, I'll try to stop saying so. I'm very sorry. Okay, rook g1 check. And now the king has to go to either h5, h4, or h3. But black decides to go to h5. And now we bring our king even closer to the black king, so he doesn't have many squares to run off to. So as you can see, the black king can only go to h6 or h4. So he only has 2 squares now. So we moved our rook all the way to g1 to cut off the entire file for the king, and we brought our king closer just to support the rook and to mate the black king. So black now only has 2 squares to run off to. So let's say black goes to h4. We go rook g8, and the idea of rook g8 is basically, well, if the king goes to, let's say, h5, there's just simply a checkmate on h8. So the king does not go to h5, the king goes to h3. So in order to not get checkmated very, very soon. All right, king h3. Now we bring our king closer, again with the idea of that black cannot go to h4 because there is a checkmate again, right? So black has to go to h2, bring our king closer, goes to h1, we bring our king closer, and now the only option for black is to go to h2, and unfortunately it's a mate on h8. So this is this was a corner mate with the rook. I hope that was a bit clear. So yeah, it's not that hard to mate with king and rook, because yeah, you can really coordinate your king and your rook very easily, and it's much harder to, let's say, checkmate with knight and bishop. That's much harder. A rook can look over an entire file, as knight and bishop is harder to coordinate. Okay, so yeah, that was the first mating pattern. So let's go to the next one. All right, I have a lot of exercises, a lot of examples. I think I have 20 examples. So yeah, we're gonna be doing some exercises for a while. All right, next pattern is the 2 bishops mate. So I said so again. No, the bishop knight mate we're not going to be looking at today. Maybe on Wednesday or Friday, but not for my class today. But yeah. All right, 2 bishops now. Exactly. Yes. So does anyone know how to checkmate with 2 bishops? I'm curious. And this is a question for beginners, of course. If you're like 2000 plus, well, obviously you can. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to checkmate with 2 bishops. So I keep on saying so. You basically want to cut off diagonals instead of files, because the rook cuts off files. Well, the rook can only cut off files. He can only go horizontally and vertically, as the bishops can only go diagonally. So you will try to cut off as many diagonals as you can, and then try to checkmate the king in a corner. Doesn't matter which corner. Yes. Okay. You're 1700, but still useful for you. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be seeing some harder mates. I mean, relatively hard compared to this. So yeah, it's always good to refresh your mating patterns, refresh your chess, I guess. So yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay, cool. So we go bishop g2, check. Starting off with a check first. And what we're trying to do is basically to push the black king to the edge of the board, so it's easier to checkmate the king. Because you can't really checkmate the king in the center, because there are so many squares the king can go to, you know? So it's much easier to push a king to the side of the board, and of course, with your king's help, you will be able to mate the black king here. All right, so we go bishop g2 check, the king goes to e5. Of course, black doesn't want to go to the edge of the board immediately, because that would lead to mate even more quickly. So you want to keep your king in the center as long as you can. And yeah, okay. And white brings his other bishop closer and checking the king. So as you can see now, you're basically controlling all of these central squares. And the king will have to decide where to go. We'll have to decide to step away from the center and give up on these squares. So the king goes to f5 now. So now we go bishop d4. You're bringing your bishop closer. That is always good. And eventually you're going to bring your king closer as well. So you will be seeing that as well. So okay. Okay, the king has to move. The king goes to e6. Now we have bishop e4. And I already highlighted with 4 beautiful arrows in red. The king is now totally cut off from the center. So the king doesn't have many squares to go. He can only go like here, here, and the other diagonals are just totally blocked, and the king cannot go there. So black goes king e7, and now white finally decides to put his king closer to the bishops in order to support them, in order to mate the black king, because you will not be able to mate your opponent's king with just 2 bishops. You will need your king's help. Okay, so king f2. Now we go king e6. As I said, you don't want to go to the edge of the board immediately. You want to stay as long as possible in the central squares, even though that's not possible right now, but you're close to the central squares. All right, now we go king f3, supporting the 2 bishops. He goes king d6. We go king f4, bringing the king even more close. King e6, and now we go king g5. King e7, and now king f5, and the king can now not go to e6. So if he wants to go to the center, the only possible way is to go d6. And that's what black does. King d6. We go king f6. The king doesn't have many options left because he's still cut off from these two diagonals. So he has to go to d7. Now we bring our bishop closer. So bishop c5. You're controlling this diagonal, so the king can also not go to d6, but also not to c6 as this bishop is controlling this diagonal. A lot of diagonals to look at. I know, right? So bishop c5, but bishop d5, you would think that is also possible, but it is it's a useless move because now the black king can go to d6 and your bishop is attacked. So you will have to move your bishop back and you just lost a tempo. So if you're close to the 50 move rule, then that's not a good idea to put your bishop on d5. You want to try to mate the king as fast as possible. So instead of going bishop d5, we go bishop c5. That's just a much stronger move. And now we go king d8. We bring our bishop closer to d5, and black goes king e7. We bring our king closer to the bishops, king e8. We bring our king even more close. So now, as you can see, the black king is totally pushed to the edge of the board. He doesn't have many squares. Actually, he has only one square to move to, and that's d8 because the bishop is controlling this file, the king is controlling these squares. So the king can only run off to d8. Okay, any questions so far? I think not, so I'll just continue. King e6 and now king d8, of course. And we go for the check. Bishop d6 check, giving a check to the black king. And now black will have to pick a side. Will he go to a8 or go to h8? Well, black decides to go to h8, let's say. But now we have a very nice maneuver. We have a very nice maneuver because the bishops can really work together here. The king doesn't have many squares to go to, so now we can just go bishop c6 check. And again, the king only has one square to run off to because the bishop is controlling this entire diagonal, and this bishop is controlling this entire diagonal, and the king is controlling d7, e7, f7. So the king will have to go to f8. Now we go for another check. Oh no, not yet. We go king f6. We go king f6 because otherwise, if we give a check, the king will run off to g7, of course. Yep. Okay, sorry, I meant king f6, of course. And now we go king g8. Oh, we go king g8. We bring our king closer. If king f8, then we give a check. King g8, bishop d5 check, king h8, and there's a checkmate. So now the king cannot move to, I mean, let's say I8 or J8. That's not possible. That's the end of the board. The king cannot escape, and it's just simply a checkmate. So I hope that's clear for you, for beginners at least. So yeah, okay. So this was a two bishops mate. It doesn't occur often on a chessboard when you're playing on the board, but I mean it's useful to know how to mate, right? Okay. Now the next is the lawnmower mate. Okay, this is an easy one, I suppose. H9. So basically this is checkmating with two rooks, but it's easier than checkmating with two bishops because with two rooks you just have much more space, and it's just easier to control the entire like rank or file. It's just much easier. Let's say we go rook a4 here. As you can see, black immediately is just cut off from this entire rank. And as for the bishop, you can only control diagonals, let's say like this. So for a rook, it's much easier, and a queen is even stronger. So okay, rook a4, let's say king d5, we go for another check. So you're just basically moving your rooks like up up each other. So you keep on checking, and at the same time you're cutting off a rank so that the king cannot escape. So now the king goes to c6, attacking this guy, and of course we will have to move our rook as far as possible so the king cannot attack the rook. The king goes to b6, let's say. We move our other rook so we can check on g6. The king moves back. We go to g6, king d7, rook h7, king e8, and rook g8, checkmate. So that's a pretty easy one. Yeah, I know it's a too easy one, but like I said in the beginning of the class, this is really aimed for beginners. So if your rating is above 1400, let's say, then this class is not that interesting for you because you already know how to mate. That's really for beginners. So I would really appreciate if you be patient with me. It's really for people who just started to learn chess and beginner level. So that's what these classes are aimed for. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, so these were some basic mates. Now we go to the back rank mate. And I immediately chose a harder exercise because we already had a topic back rank mate in one of the previous classes, I think. So for those who were there, you would already have seen it. And not 1400. So for those who already have seen it, you already know, you're already familiar with back rank mate. So I didn't pick the easiest exercise. This is a bit harder, but not too hard. So for those who know how to checkmate here in this position, leave it in the comments and we'll look at it together. So yeah, what do you guys think? What can white play here to checkmate the black king with a back rank mate? So what would you do here? And for those who don't know what a back rank mate is, by the way, it's basically when you checkmate the black king on the 8th rank. So a typical example is when the black pawns are on f7, g7, and h7, and you checkmate, let's say, with the rook on e8. Let's say these two rooks aren't there, and you checkmate with your rook or with your queen on e8. That's a very basic example of back rank mate. So you just totally, the king is just totally blocked because of his pawns, and you just checkmate on the 8th rank. So queen e8 check. Someone's saying, you're seeing the idea, but it's not the right move order. You have to play something else first, because if you play queen e8, let me play it. If you play queen e8 check first, well, of course, black will just be able to take it, and you're not going to be able to mate black. And I think now you want to take on b7, right? And if black takes back, you can take there, and it's a checkmate. But the only problem is, black does not have to take back on b7. Black can also take here with a mate himself. So that is very unfortunate. So you gotta switch the move order. You don't go queen e8 check immediately. You play another move first, and then you play queen e8. So it's a bit tricky. Yeah. Okay. Rahul is right. Rook b7. Exactly, Rahul. Yes, Rahul is indeed right. Rook b7. Rook takes b7. Now you're basically, you're baiting the black rook to take on b7, because now we can play queen e8 check. Black takes, and we take with the checkmate. You just you baited this rook away from the 8th rank, because you can't play queen e8 immediately, because black can also just take like this, and if you take there, let's say, black can just take back, and there's not a mate. So you're just baiting the rook away by taking on b7, and that's just a back rank mate. Exactly. Very good, guys. Very good. Okay, amazing. All right. So this was just to refresh your memory, your back rank mate skills, let's say. Let's go to the other one, to the next one. So this exercise is really easy. This is a basic example. This is called the Morphy's mate. So I'm first going to start off with an easy exercise just to show what it exactly is. And then I'm going to show the second example, which is a bit harder. So this is a really, really basic example to show what it exactly is. So basically what a Morphy's mate is, you coordinate your rook with your bishop in order to mate the king of your opponent. So now, of course, there's mate in one. You go bishop f6, checkmate, because the rook is cutting off this g file and the bishop is checking the black king with a mate. So that's the point of Morphy's mate. So you combine your rook and your bishop in order to checkmate. Okay, so that was a basic example. So I will show you a little bit harder one, so a not so obvious one. Okay, this one. Okay, this is a bit more to calculate. It's not mate in one, as you can see, so you have to play a few moves first, and then you can mate the black king. So yeah, a bit more moves to calculate. What would you play here? So yeah, it's called Morphy's mate. So you have to look for ideas to mate the black king with your rook and your bishop. But how do we do this? How do we get to mate a black king combining our rook with our bishop? Because it's not really obvious in this position here. So maybe we will have to sacrifice something. So yeah. Yeah, very good, guys. Exactly. We play queen takes f6, and for those who don't understand this move, like, why on earth would you sacrifice your queen like that? Because obviously black can just take back on f6 with his pawn. So why would you do that? Well, because now we have rook g3 check. Black has only one move here. He can only go king h8. And now, like we saw from the previous example, we have bishop takes f6, checkmate. Again, the rook is cutting off this entire file, and the bishop is checking the black king. So it's a checkmate, a really nice one. Yeah, we sacrifice a queen, a very valuable piece on the chessboard, and then we just get a simple checkmate. Really nice. It's always nice to be able to sacrifice a piece and then able to checkmate your opponent. It's really beautiful, but just make sure it's working. All right, you don't want to sacrifice valuable pieces and then get nothing from it. That will be really painful. So always try to calculate. Okay, so this was a Morphy's mate. So let's go to the next one. Next one is a very fun example. I mean, it's a fun name. It's called the blind swine mate. The blind swine. All right, so the blind swine mate is basically a checkmate pattern that demonstrates the power of two rooks on the 7th rank. So two connected rooks on the 7th rank. That was a nice combination. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So yeah, it's really useful to have these patterns in mind when you're playing a chess game. So it's easier to recognize them. So the more you recognize, the more you master those patterns, the better you'll get at chess. And it's really useful to have these patterns in the back of your mind, let's say. So here, again, this is a basic example, and then I'll show you a harder one. So here it's just to demonstrate what it exactly is. So we have two powerful rooks, connected rooks on the 7th rank. And what they're doing, well, you will see rook takes g7 check, king h8, rook takes h7 check, king g8, and now we checkmate. So the rooks are really powerful because they can just really force black. Yeah, it's just really a forcing mate here, especially in this example. I'll show you a harder one now because this is, yeah, it's really easy to see, but on the board it might take some moves in order to get your rooks on the 7th rank, sorry. So yeah, let's go to the harder exercise. All right, this is the harder one. So I'll give you the first two moves. White went queen g3 here with the idea to mate black on g7. As you can see, the white knight is attacking g7 as well as the queen. So black now decides to go g6. Okay, so here I will ask you, what would you play here? How will we be able to find a blind swine mate? So blind swine mate is two connected rooks on the 7th file, and then we can just simply checkmate the king of your opponent. So how do we achieve that typical setup? Again, you might have to look at sacrificing pieces. So it's not always an obvious move. Maybe you will have to sacrifice a piece. Yeah, very good, Radio Norbert. Very good. Yes. Another queen sack. Exactly. There's another queen check. So what we play here is queen takes g6 check. Okay, now black can decide to step aside with the king, but then there's just a checkmate on g7. Oh, yeah, and that's not what we want. We do not want checkmate on 1. Yeah, okay, I'm seeing a long variations. That's very good. Yes, exactly. Queen takes g6 check. F takes g6. We have rook g7, king h8, and now we go rook c7. Exactly. So now, as you can see, we have two rooks connected on the 7th rank, which is very powerful. And there's nothing really black can do. Black can't even check my king. My king is really safe here on h2. And black is just gonna get mated very soon. So the only way to stop a checkmate immediately is to put the knight in between, knight e7, just to prolong the mates. So now we take, of course, rook f7, rook takes. It just plays a random move. We go check, king g8, and there's checkmate. There's just a simple checkmate. This is really annoying to rooks on a 7th rank, especially for black in this case. But yeah, as you can see, it's very, very strong. And there was nothing black could do here. Queen e5? What do you mean queen e5? You mean in the beginning? When I had my queen? You mean, yeah, black doesn't have to play g6. Black could also go for g5. So then we wouldn't have a queen sack on g6. But then, like you said, we have indeed queen e5 because we're still threatening the mate on g7. So queen e5 is a winning move as well. So yeah, that's very good. That's a very good move. So now black will have to stop the mate on g7 by playing a move like f6. But still, look, he opened up the 7th rank and it's just looking very, very, very dangerous. So again, we have rook g7 check. Ooh, sorry, let me just make a move. Rook g7 check, king h8. Oh, king h8. And now we can, maybe we can even play queen f5 here and then go queen h7 mate. Or maybe rook c7 again. But I think queen f5 is also a good move. Anyway. Queen e5 is very good. It's a sad black queen. I know, right? I know. The black queen is not doing anything there. She's just standing there watching the battlefield. Totally losing. Very sad. But yeah, there's nothing much black could do. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's go to Smothered Mate. Smothered Mate. Okay, again, a basic example. Yeah, it's also about rook on a 7th rank lesson. Exactly. Yeah. So these are some mating patterns. I think they're really interesting. So this is called Smothered Mate. And as you can see, you can checkmate in 1 by playing knight f7 check. Checkmate, of course. So a smothered mate is a checkmate delivered by a knight in which the king is mated. And he can't move anywhere because he's surrounded by his own pieces. So, as you can see, black is trapped by his own rook. His pawn's in front of it, and there's just nothing you can do. It's just trapped in the corner. Very sad. So that is a very basic exercise. Favorite mate. I also love these mates. Yes, I love that. Me too. Whenever I see positions like these, I'm looking for mating patterns like these. It's really nice to mate your opponent like this, right? I'll show you a harder exercise. It's a classical example, I think. So let's go to the harder one. So again, a smothered mate is a mate when the king is in the corner of the board, surrounded by his own pieces. That's important, his own pieces, so that he cannot move. And you can just simply checkmate with your knights, and it's GG, it's game over. Okay, so here it is white to move, and I'm gonna ask you, how would you checkmate black with a smothered mate? It sounds terrible, I know. So how would you checkmate black here? How would you do it? How would you do it? You had this in a game once. Nice. Yeah, I think it's a really nice example of smothered mate. So does anyone know? Does anyone know how to checkmate here? Hello, Tim. Hello. Queen e6, very good. Very good. Yes, exactly. Queen e6, knight f7, then blah blah. Yes. So we have queen e6 check. The only way to step aside from the check is king h8. And now we have knight f7 check. Knight f7 check. The king can only go to g8. And now a very beautiful move. Knight takes h6. There's a double check, as you can see. The queen is attacking the black king as well as the knight. So now the king will have to move to h8. And now, what do we play? This is a very nice mate. Does anyone see the mate here? How do we get the black pieces to block the black king? How do we do it? It's a really nice mate. Also one of my favorite mates in chess. You had it and then you forgot you could take with the king? Oh no. Yes, queen g8 check, exactly. So black is forced to take with the knight, and there's just a simple checkmate on f7. This is really painful. Yeah, there's just nothing black can do. There's nothing black can do, and it's just a simple checkmate on f7. Yeah, the rook is in a really bad spot. Exactly. What is it doing on h7? Totally blocking the king. Now the king is probably cursing the rook, like, please go away. I want to go to h7. I don't want to get mated. So yeah, that was a typical example of smothered mate. And let's go to the next mating pattern. All right. So this is called the kill box mate, and this is also very easy. Of course, you play rook d8, checkmate. There's a checkmate on one, but again, I'm showing this just to illustrate how it exactly works. So the kill box mate is a mating pattern where the queen and the rook work together in order to checkmate the enemy king. And yeah, the queen protects the rook, so the king cannot take it. And now I will show you a harder exercise. A harder one. Okay. Here it is black to move. Let's flip the board. It is black to move, and you should look for a mate. So don't look for the best move. I mean, there are many good moves here. But you should look for the checkmate. You should look for the kill box mate. So how do we get our queen and a rook to work together in order to mate the black king? You hate bishop and queen, always stalemate. Very important. If you don't want a stalemate, try to check the opponent's king as much as possible, just to prevent stalemates. If you check your opponent, there's not gonna be a stalemate. But if you don't play forcing moves, then of course you risk getting in an unpleasant position, also known as stalemate, where the opponent's king cannot go anywhere and it's not in check. Mate is the best move. Queen g3 check. What do you mean? I think you mean queen takes g2. Queen takes, yeah, so it is black to move here, for the record. It's not white to move, it's black to move. So yeah, it is queen takes g2 check. And now black only has, he only has one move. He can only go to h5, so king h5. Now we go queen h3 check. And now, well, you can play rook h4, but then it's just checkmate in one. Or you can play king takes g5. And now we just simply mate with the rook on f5. Checkmate. So as you can see, again, the queen and the rook are collaborating together in order to mate the opponent's king. Very nice. Yeah, very good, Albert. Very good. Very good. He said just sack your bishop. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to sack your pieces, but you should know that there's gonna be a mate or a huge advantage. Otherwise, it's not gonna be pleasant for you. And yeah, very good, Radio and Robert. Yeah, queen g2 followed by queen h3. Exactly, that was exercise. All right, now we go to the next one. How are you liking the mating pattern so far? This is a question for the beginners, for the record. Kill box, blah blah blah. Reti's mate. Okay, next one is Reti's mate. Do you guys know Reti? So Reti's mate, as you can see here, oh, it's white to move. I'm sorry. I'm gonna flip the board. Reti's mate is also with rook and bishop. I mean to say, my English is not going great today. It's a mating pattern where you use your rook and your bishop, and you use the X-ray ability of the bishop. So how do we mate the black king? Well, I think everyone is going to see it. It's bishop d8 checkmate, because the pawns are blocking the black king. So as you can see, the black pawn is on b7 and on c6. So the king cannot escape to these squares, and the bishop is checking the black king, and the rook is protecting the bishop. So there's no way black can escape the mate. So that is a typical example of Reti's mate. So with these pawns here, black cannot escape. Yeah, bishop d8 checkmate, exactly. And now I'll show you a bit harder one. Okay, this is actually a very famous example, I think, but it's a very good one because it really shows how strong this Reti's mate is. So we need more difficult ones, yes, but it's really, I really want to aim to the basic level. So for the beginners. But yeah, if you think it's too easy, you don't have to watch this class, of course. If you think it's too easy, then you can always watch Grandmaster play chess. You can watch GMs on Twitch or on Chess24 or. Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is a very famous one. So we go queen d8 check. Black is forced to take the queen because, well, he doesn't have any squares. Black takes the queen. We go bishop g5, as everyone is saying. Bishop g5, yes, exactly. Bishop g5, checking the king with both the rook and the bishop. Very nice. The king will have to decide either to move to e8 or to c7. If he goes to e8, well, then there's just simple checkmate on d8. Rook d8, checkmate. And if he goes to c7, as you can see from, yeah, you can go bishop d8 because there, once again, there are 2 pawns on b7, b7 and c6, and there's just no way black can escape. And yeah, that is a checkmate. Just move the bishop, threatens mate, right? Exactly. Just move the bishop, very easy. Yep, that was a very nice checkmate. That is a very typical example for Reti's mate. And it's not fun to fall for it. Okay. You like it? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Awesome. So yeah, if anything is not clear, you can always ask me for sure. So don't be scared. You can always ask me. Damn, this was good. Awesome. Great. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. So here, this is Cozio's mate. Cozio's mate is when the queen delivers a mate while she is protected by another piece. In this case, the king. So here we go queen f3 checkmate. Pretty easy. The queen is protected by the king, and the king is just, well, can't go anywhere, and it's in checkmate. So this is a Cozio's mate. So the queen is checkmate in black king with another piece protecting that queen. All right. Bishop d8 isn't easy. Bishop d8 isn't really easy to see, actually, yeah. Okay. Okay, let's go to a harder one. This was a basic example once again. Cozio's made harder. So here we have another mating pattern called Cozio's mate. So how do we checkmate the black king? Using this mating pattern. How do we do it? How do we do it? How do we do it? So you're gonna have to look at, well, first of all, checking moves, forcing moves. So how do we force black to do something? And look at these pawns. Like this is very typical, actually. Look at these pawns. So you want to force the black king on a certain square. So it's gonna be a forced mate. So it's gonna be a, yeah. It's gonna be a Cozio's mate. How do we do this? Ooh. It is not mate in one. Yeah. Well, everyone is saying queen h8. That is funny, but because, well, it looks like a mate, right? It looks like a mate. But. There is a bishop. There is a bishop. Ah, the bishop can just simply take the queen, and it's not a mate. And if the rook takes, the king can just escape. That is not a mate, unfortunately. So no, not queen h8. Not that. Yeah, guys, look at the long and diagonal. Exactly, there's a bishop. Sneaky bishop, isn't it? It's not queen h8. Let's look at another move. There are also other checking moves other than queen h8. Oh god. Yeah, that's okay. That's I think that's easy to miss, but you should look at the entire board. Take the bishop first. Okay, but you're not really forcing anything. And also taking on b2 is not, I don't think that's good because, well, the black queen is looking kind of dangerous here, and also there's rook, so you want to make forcing moves. So what is forcing? Then we resign. No, we do not resign here. We win. What do we play? Exactly, rook d8. Rook d8 check. Okay. Rook d8 check. Well, he can go to g7 or he can take the rook. Let's say he goes rook takes d8. We take with the queen on d8. king has to go to just g7, and now we have queen h8 checkmate, because now the bishop cannot take the queen, of course, cannot, as you can see, and the pawns are blocking the black king. So yeah, and also if the black king goes to g7 again, we have queen h8 mate. So yeah, mate on h8, very typical example of Cozio's mate. Queen is protected by the rooks. Okay, next one. Okay, we have a few more, so we have 4 more. So we have 1 more mating pattern, and then we have 3 opening mates. 1 easy one, and the other 2 are... Okay, no, 2 easy ones, and the other one is a bit harder. All right, let's go to Vukovic mate. So Vukovic mate, as you can see here, again, a basic example. We go rook f7 check mate, because the king cannot go to e8, cannot go to g8. The rook is protected by the pawn, cannot take the rook, so it's checkmate, as you can see. Okay, so Vukovic mate is a mating pattern with a rook, a knight, and any other supporting piece. So here in this case, it is a pawn on e6. And this pattern demonstrates the powerful coordination between the rook and the knight. All right, so this was, again, the basic example. And now we'll hop on to the harder one. Here, Vukovic mate. Oh, no, sorry, we already had this one. Wrong one, I meant this one. All right, this one. Vukovic mate. All right, it's up to you guys. How do you mate the black king with this mating pattern called Vukovic mate? Yeah, I'm gonna show you some opening mates. There is one that is gonna be mate in 2 from the opening already. So be prepared for that. And some other ones. So we have 3 opening mates. You found it? Ah, I thought you meant the exercise. Oh yeah, I guess some people would say that. Yeah. I guess, yeah, 96. I had a feeling. It's not 96 because after we play 96, it's gonna take longer to checkmate the black king. And also it's gonna, yeah, no, actually it's gonna be a draw because the king goes to d8. And as you can see, it's equal material. If you now take the black's bishop, well, of course you can. You're a piece up and the knight is protecting the white rook. Black cannot take back. Well, of course you're a piece up, but it's gonna be a draw because it's really hard to mate the black king while black still has another rook on the board. So it's gonna be really hard because the black rook can give many checks, and it's still a powerful piece. So yeah, it's this is a draw. So we do not play 96. What do we play instead? Yeah, knight and rook mating simultaneously. Exactly. Yeah, they're really powerful. They can really work together, and that's really important in a chess game. You really want to combine your pieces. You really want to work with them together. Yeah, knight a7, exactly. Knight a7 check. So now we give a check. The king can only go to b8 or d8. So it's both going to be checkmate, but let's say we go to d8. Now we have knight c6 check. The king only has one square to go, and that's c8 because, of course, he can go there. And now there's a mate on c7. And in this case, the king is a supporting piece, supporting the rook, protecting the rook. So yeah, the knight is attacking b8 and d8, and the rook and the king is attacking b7 and d7. So the black king cannot escape. What do you think of this one? I think it's a really beautiful one. And also if he goes to b8, so let's say he doesn't go to d8, he goes to b8, it's the same thing. So you still have knight c6. If he goes to a8, there's bishop, oh my god, bishop. Rook a7. My English is not going great today, I'm telling you. Rook a7, checkmate. So that's a Vukovic mate. What do you think of that? All right. Okay, so we have 3 more opening mates that I'm going to show you. So the first one is called Scholar's Mate. And of course, this is one of the first mating tricks you learn when you started to learn chess. All right? I think all of you beginners know this trick, but I'm going to show you to you anyway. All right? So we have e4, e5. This is how beginners usually play a game of chess when they just started to learn it. So e4, e5, and now we go queen h5. And if you're a bit better, name all the pieces, one will be right. Exactly, Marco. I was really trying my best to say rook, but the words didn't came out of my mouth for some reason. I meant rook, of course. Okay, so queen h5 it's actually, if you're a bit advanced in chess, putting your queen out there on a chessboard immediately is not really good because, well, you don't really want your queen to be so vulnerable. You want to develop your knights, your bishops, castle, but not your queen immediately, especially not on move 2. Like you do not want to put your queen on h5 on move 2. And now black, let's say black goes knight c6, protecting the e5 pawn because we do not want to lose this pawn on e5. And now white goes bishop c4. And you can already guess it. We can already guess it. There is a checkmate on f7. The queen is watching at f7, the bishop as well. So that is that's a checkmate. And let's say black doesn't see it. Black thinks, okay, let's play knight f6. Because many beginners would think that this is a logical move because you're attacking the white queen. So you would think that the white queen would retreat to, let's say, d1. But no, white has queen takes f7 checkmate. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. So yeah, knight f6 is actually a blunder. Instead, you could go g6, attacking the queen and also protecting the f7 square instead. Oh, so now the white queen would have to retreat to, let's say, d1. And the threat is just over. So it's not really a good opening. It's not a good trick because it's very obvious. It's very, very obvious. And let's go to a less obvious mate. All right? This is less obvious. So this is fool's mate, okay? So only fools will fall for this. But this is actually maiden too. So let's see. f4. Black goes e6. And now white goes g4, which is a blunder because the reason why black played e6 is to get the queen out. All right? So now black has queen h4 checkmate. That's just checkmate in 2. That is very, very sad. When you're playing on the board, when you're playing normal time control, this is really, really sad. You're going to be leaving the playing hall like in 1 minute maybe. So, welcome to your first game of chess. Yeah, you just lost. Exactly. Queen h4, checkmate. So please don't play. You can't play f4. f4 is actually the bird opening. You can't play that. But please do not play g4 because that will just lead to checkmate in 2. Very sad. Is there a checkmate in 1? No, there isn't. That's the quickest mate actually. So fool's mate is only possible for black. So it can only be delivered by a black queen on move 2. So yeah. So it's the fool's mate is also known as two mate. The two move checkmate. So it's a really nice one, but it's not fun to fall for it. Especially not on the board. Okay, last one. Yeah, this is the quickest possible mate, exactly. That's why it's called two move checkmate. Yeah. Okay, last one. The very last one. So this is also an opening. This is called the Legal's Mate. Legal's Mate. All right, so how we start off with this mate is e4, e5, knight f3, some normal opening moves, developing the knights, bishop c4, d6, knight c3, and black goes bishop g4. So yeah, this is actually a typical way how lower level players would play. Bishop g4, pinning a knight seems very tempting. But now white can go h3, and black will have to take on f3. But let's say black does not take on f3. Let's say black goes to h5, and this is the legal's mate. I'm gonna show you. All right. So black goes bishop h5, and now I have a really nice trick, because here we have knight takes e5. And you might think, oh my, this looks very dangerous, because you just opened the diagonal for the bishop. And the bishop is just looking at the queen, and you might think, okay, well, black is just going to take the queen. Okay, well, let's just take the queen. We just want a queen. No, we have bishop takes f7 check. The king can only go to e7, and now we have knight d5 checkmate. Exactly, Krem. You know this one? Awesome. So knight d5 checkmate. This is called the legal's mate. It's a very nice one, because look, you only checkmated the king with 3 minor pieces. So you see this also? All right. But I'm just trying to show those who don't know it. So this is called legal's mate. All right. Now black would have to take on f3, and it's still better for white. White has a bishop pair, and yeah, okay. So what was I going to show again? Let's say white takes on e5 immediately. That's actually a mistake, because there's still the same idea. Because after bishop takes, let's make a move. After bishop takes, we still have this idea of checkmating on d5. So that is losing for black, but there's a big but. Black does not have to take the queen. Black can also simply take the knight. Ooh, sorry. Let's make the move. Black can also take the knight, because maybe black sees the mate and he decides to take the knight. And now, well, we're basically forced to play a move like f3 or bishop e2, but then we're just a piece down. So we basically just lost a piece, f3, and black can just take there. We take there, and as you can see, black has 1, 2, 3 minor pieces, and we only have 2. And our pawn structure is ruined, as you can see here. Pawn on g4, pawn on g2, and a pawn on e4. Blah, blah, blah. It's just not looking very healthy. So yeah, here in this position, it's not good to play knight takes e5. But I forgot to show in the h3 variation, it is black can take on e5. Yeah, black can here also take on e5, and now it's good for white, because the black bishop is now not on g4 but on h5, and that's a major difference, because as you will see, so the black bishop is on h5, so now we can just take the bishop, as when the bishop was on g4 we couldn't take it because the knight was protecting the bishop and we would have to play f3. But now we can take the bishop, and black takes back the bishop on c4. And now again, you can count. We have 1, 2 minor pieces. So we have 1 knight and 1 bishop. But black has a knight, another bishop. So black is up a piece. But the difference here is we have a queen on h5. And we can go queen b5 check, attacking the king and the knight. So there's a double check. Sorry. And black will lose his knight. So it goes c6, and we take back the knight. And white is just better. I think white is up a pawn, right? Yeah, white is up a pawn here. So here it does work. We can take on h5, as when the bishop was on g4, we couldn't. So yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay, those were the mating patterns, the checkmating patterns, and some openings. So I hope that was clear for you. I know for most of you it's a bit easy. It's really beginner's level, but that's what today's class is aimed for. But anyway, I hope you learned something from it. And if you didn't know any of these mates, well, now you've learned it. And yeah. Yeah, don't focus on openings too much. Exactly. Yeah, it's more important to play better like in the middle game or in an end game. And for opening, you can, let's say, just play e4 like a normal Italian or something. Just normal beginner openings. But of course, you can play whatever you want. Okay, so I think that's it for today. And I will be back next week. And there will be other coaches this week. Also, covering the topic checkmating patterns, a bit more intermediate, a bit harder. And yeah, if you like today's class, stick around. Check out the other classes of other coaches, not from me. I'll be back next week on Wednesday again. So yeah, you're welcome. I'm happy to be here. So okay. See you later.